Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sophie and I want to welcome you to the BBC News. This is the 8 p.m. release of the 27th of October 2015. Tonight we will focus on the following topics. We will start with the Facebook viruses on the internet. We will continue with the UN conference about climate change. After this we will talk about the impact of internet, and we will end our news with an interview about global trade.
People from all over the world are worrying about their online data being taken away from the internet. Presumably this was done by an anonymous hacker group which has not taken responsibility for his attack, nor has declared its official existence. This, however, is not the only issue. There are countless people with Facebook addiction which can't calm down, partially because they lost all their dear posts and can't access their profile. There is no treatment against this moral problem. The only countermeasure which can and has been taken is the free giveaway of calming medication, like an aspirin or sleeping pills. Doing this, however, will also allow junkies and homeless people to commit suicide or drown themselves in medication. The administrators of Facebook have been trying to restore the site all the time, but it seems like the Facebook server has been destroyed and all backups which were made are at a loss also.
Thank you, Sophie. My first question, shortly before the server shut down, did you expect something or did you notice anything about failure?
No, we were surprised by it as well. But obviously, during the past 50 years, the dependency from businesses, government, and people on Facebook has increased. So that means that the possible attacks on Facebook increased as well.
Okay. Well, 50 years ago, they were also very popular, maybe not as popular as they are now, but how come that it didn't happen at that time?
At that time, it was more a social thing, which 50 years ago meant for people to communicate with each other and to share details about each other's lives. But the importance increased. Facebook is now, in 2050, far more important for instance for governments to communicate their messages. It's for businesses, it's their main marketing tool. And for people, it's next to meeting each other and calling each other, it's the most important platform to communicate with each other. So for terrorist groups, it gives them a huge impact if they, as they did right now. That's why the safety measures have been increased also over the past years. But obviously, well, what happens right now is that these terrorists found a better way to attack their Facebook.
So you say like it's still social, but the economic side of Facebook has increased far more than it was in 50 years ago.
The relevance in society has increased enormously. So the not only commercial but economical, but also from a government aspect, from a health aspect. So like hospitals, as you know, use it a lot to inform people about the increase of the sun or the increase of pollution, so people can take measures in it, and they are informed via Facebook right now as the main source, or for instance what medicines to take each morning, and so that's why it's such an enormous attack from those terrorist groups who attack Facebook.
Because when they attack Facebook, they attack like all of the world, because everyone's using Facebook.
Yes, back in 2011 we had 700 million users, and now it's over 5 billion.
So it's a great impact.
It's a great impact, yes.
Which countermeasures can be taken in the future to prevent this from happening again?
Probably there will always be technical possibilities to attack Facebook, but to defend Facebook from technical advances, it takes a huge lot of money. And if a profit company, for commercial reasons, exploits Facebook, in my opinion, that is a threat as well. So probably it's best that Facebook will be an organization that is run by non-profit organizations, by an NGO or even a government, and that they have a main goal in their business plan that it is defended from attacks. And again, that's since the impact on society is that huge, that it's the best way to prevent from attacks, to my opinion.
Well, but if the government is using Facebook more, so there will be like secret information on Facebook, as it might be as an email or something. But don't you think that the government might misuse Facebook then, if they have the right to own Facebook?
Yes, but if you own a social media like Facebook, it's difficult to as we saw in the past few years, it's not possible to completely be aware of the content. The content is being filled by the users, as it was in 2011 as well. So it's not the content that they own, it's the platform that they own. So the content will always be a social, public thing.
So it won't let you decrease the Facebook users?
No, I don't think so. No. The power of Facebook is the power of the content, and the content still is from the society. But the platform is being exploited by now a commercial company, and well, for attack reasons, it might be good to get it over to an NGO or an organization.
Okay. How long will it take, and what amount of data will be lost when Facebook is restored again?
Well, it's now 2050, and as we have seen since the crash a week ago, that there have been huge disasters all over the world. And people are dying right now because they can't get the right information from their hospitals, from their governments. And this probably will give a large disbalance and a lot of disorder all over the world. And I don't know exactly how that's going to be restored. The data, I cannot give any clue about when the data is restored. They are now building on it, and it's not my capability to make predictions about that. But it's sure that the impact on society now in 2050 is that for governments, for hospitals, for educational purposes, this is a large economic and human disaster right now, because a lot of people depend for their each day information on Facebook. And there are other sources that will take it over, like, well, we used to have a kind of thing they call television, and now they use television again. So other sources will take over the information, but that will take probably a few weeks from now.
But you think the data which was used for patients in hospitals will be lost, or will it come back eventually?
Yes, it will come back, yes, it will come back. Yeah, I'm sure about that. Okay.
Well, thank you for this interview.
Thank you very much for having me.
I will go back to Sophie.
We will now continue with the UN conference about the climate change with our reporters Jasper, Mona and Janneau.
The United Nations leaders are coming together in New York to discuss the measures that should be taken to regulate the dangerous climate change as soon as possible. When Al Gore made some hard predictions in his 2006 documentary An Inconvenient Truth, many people called him a ridicule and refused to agree with his ideas. But indeed, the world is changing. Look at the Netherlands, the Low Countries of Europe. It has shrunk enormously. The North Sea Islands and the northwestern provinces have flooded. Due to the disappearance of main port Schiphol and Rotterdam and of the metropole Randstad, the Netherlands was hit in its economic heart. leaving scars for the next Dutch generations. Then we have Florida, the Sunshine State. It's submerging. This is having a great impact on tourism. American Airlines hasn't flown any airplanes to the state anymore since last summer, when things went completely out of control. Disney World, SeaWorld, and all the other theme parks Florida is famous for are closing. The coastlines of San Francisco have changed as well. San Jose in the south has completely disappeared. Many people have fled to the already overcrowded downtown San Francisco. Due to the traffic chaos, the businesses of San Francisco have been cut off. Al Gore was right. As you can see in this next video fragment, all of his predictions came true. Al Gore made his predictions very accurate. No one believed him in his days. Everybody thought he was mad, but now we know better. Now that his predictions came true, he'll be respected as a very good scientist. Like the most great people in history, he'll be honored after his death. Scientists in our days are trying to use the same method he used 50 years ago to predict our landscapes over 50 years, but they'll never equalize the great prestation by Al Gore. Back in 1997, 37 industrialized countries came together in Kyoto, Japan. In this conference, agreements were made to encounter the climate change.